Kano State government dethrones Emir Sanusi. Governor Matawale orders a new regime in food supply to boarding schools across Zamfara State. Lawmaker knocks commissioner asking Matawale to join APC. NBC issues 65 new radio and television licenses. On business, Dangote subsea pipeline to boost Nigerians' gas supply and reduce flaring. And on the international scene, Saudi Arabia introduced new policy on issuance of visa and entry into the kingdom. Hello viewers, welcome to Standard Voice Television News. I am Musa Joy Onyoza. The Kano State government, led by Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, has announced the sacking of the Emir of Kano State, Mohammed Sanusi II. The Director General Media and Communications, Kano State Government, Salihu Yakasai, said this on his official Twitter handle at Dawisu on Monday. The Kano State Executive Council has unanimously approved the dethronement of the Emir of Kano State, Malam Mohammed Sanusi II, at a special sitting held today by the Council. Mohammed Sanusi II ascended the throne in 2014 following the death of his grand-uncle Alhaji Ado Bayero. His grandfather Muhammadu Sanusi I reigned from 1953 to 1963 when he was deposed by Premier Amadou Bello. His father Aminu Sanusi was Chiroma of Kano State. Prior to his accession, Sanusi was an economist and banker. He served as the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria from 2009 to 2014 when he was suspended by President Goodluck Jonathan after raising the alarm on the $20 billion alleged to be missing. The Punch reports that the Emir has been engaged in a battle with the governor since last year amid allegations that he supported the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Abba Kabir Yusuf. The monarch has since been under investigation for alleged corruption, while his emirate was split into 5 to withdraw down his influence.
Jagorancin mai girma gwamna na jihar Kano Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje sun amince da cire da kuma saukarwa daga kujerar mulki ta wato gundumar jihar Kano Emirate Muhammad Sanusi na biyu.
Following his dissatisfaction with boarding school feeding system in the state, Governor Bello Matawale Maradun has reinvigorated the services of the State Commodity, Marketing and Distribution Board as well as the School Feeding Commission. This is a direct fallout to the governor's sudden visit to some secondary schools in the state capital last week, where he found a sorry state of food supply and provision completely unacceptable to him and the vision of his administration. The State Marketing and Commodity Board is charged with the supply of quality foodstuff to the Feeding Commission, which will in turn provide the various schools with the staff for a proper feeding system in the schools. As part of the process of ensuring effective process, the state head of the civil service, Alhaji Kabir Balarabe Saudana Dan Isa, went round to monitor the procedure on behalf of Governor Bello Matawale, where he expressed his satisfaction with the process. Alhaji Kabir Balarabe said the administration of Bello Mohammed Matawale will further monitor the process of student feeding procedure closely so that the desired quality in food provided to the student is ensured. The head of service further commended the chairman of the School Feeding Commission, Alhaji Aliu M. Sanim Maradun, for the commitment he had shown in the Commission's readiness to ensure a new regime in the process of quality food supply to all boarding schools in the state. A member representing Maru Kanoma constituency in Zamfara State, Yusuf Kanoma, has berated a serving commissioner in the state for calling on Governor Bello Matawalle to defer to the All Progressives Congress, APC. It could be recalled that the commissioner in the state, Alhaji Abubakar Safi, who belonged to the APC, had asked Matawalle to leave the People's Democratic Party to join the APC in Zamfara State. Bet Kanoma described the action of the commissioner as a double standard for a serving commissioner to invite his governor to join his party. The lawmaker said the commissioner should be cautioned because the governor has graciously agreed to accommodate them by giving appointment to many of them who do not belong to his party does not mean that he is planning to join the APC. The National Broadcasting Commission says it has granted and issued 65 new broadcasting licenses. This is contained in a statement signed by the Deputy Director, Public Affairs Unit of the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC), Antia Ekanem. The statement said the licenses comprises of 43 new FM radio, 8 campus FM radio, and 1 community FM and 13 free view digital terrestrial televisions. According to the statement, the police force, Nigeria Security, and Civil Defense Corps were among the 43 companies to have been issued radio licenses. Others include Abduguso Polytechnic, Talata Mafra, Abubakar Tatari Ali Polytechnic, Bauchi, Federal Polytechnic, Ilaro, Federal Polytechnic, Nasarawa, Akwa Ibom State University, Ambrose Ali University, Temple Gate Polytechnic, and Nuhu Bamali Polytechnic got the campus FM radio broadcasting licenses. The Commission in the statement noted that the approval was granted by President Muhammadu Buhari. The statement said advised successful companies, institutions, and communities listed to collect their letters of grant of provisional operating license from the Office of the Secretary to the Commission. The Federal Capital Development Authority has announced the activation of the Abuja Master Plan in respect of Sani Abacha Road, that is the road which separates the CBN head office and the National Christian Center. Beginning from Monday, March 9, 2020, Sani Abacha will become a one-way drive from the National Mosque through 5th Street towards NTA headquarters. Specifically, the following would apply in compliance with the FCDA enforcement requirements. From now on, there will be no driving towards the National Mosque from the NTA headquarters, CBN, Ecumenical Center. It emphasized that the FCDA has expressed commitment to mobilize all relevant enforcement agencies to ensure compliance with the above, and it advised all to continue to be law-abiding and cooperate with the FCDA accordingly, as well as adhere to the advisory contained therein. A statement thanks motorists for their kind understanding and cooperation as they comply with the FCDA traffic regulations. The federal government has set a new date for the commissioning of Katsina 10-megawatt wind farm. The handler of the project has said after gulping over 4.4 billion naira in 12 years, the 10-megawatt Katsina wind farm will be completed and ready for commissioning in the next 8 weeks. The Minister of Power, Engineer Saleh Maman, who inspected the plant last weekend at Lambarimi community, also commissioned the transmission lines that will evacuate the generated power. The contractor executing the project and Managing Director of Crown Resources Development Company Limited, Bernard Adeku, said 31 turbines had been installed and that they could generate 5.5 megawatts at a 65% wind speed efficiency. Mr. Oja said plans were ongoing to install the remaining 6 turbines and that with strong wind speed the plant could generate over 10 megawatts. Mr. Oja, who briefed the minister, said within the next 8 weeks the rehabilitation of the 31 turbines will be completed and that they could generate 5.5 megawatts. The contractor said the completion would be even earlier than 8 weeks depending on the situation of each turbine. The project also comes with the construction of 23 kilometers of 33 kilovolts power transmission line from the 10-megawatt wind farm. The line evacuates the generator power to the 132-33 kilovolt substation belonging to the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. The federal government has constituted a 10-man committee to oversee the posting of directors from the Office of Accountant General of the Federation to revenue-generating agencies. The Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, confirmed the development during the closing section of a management retreat for Treasury Directors of Finance and Accounts and Directors of Internal Audit. The retreat has its theme Global Best Practices in 21st Century Treasury Management. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, said the pilot phase of the posting of the revenue directors will commence with few revenue agencies. She had said that the revenue directors will be posted to the agencies should ensure increased revenue generation by the agencies. The Accountant General of the Federation in a statement commended the minister for approving the posting of Treasury directors to revenue agencies and said that the committee would handle all issues relating to the postings. Mr. Idris said the sustenance of the successes of the ongoing public finance management reforms of the federal government depends on the effort and integrity of directors of finance and accounts and directors of internal audit. He said since the responsibility of implementing the financial reforms in the ministries, departments, and agencies rests on the Treasury directors, it is expedient for them to be committed and hardworking. There was tension in Kasuar Barchi market of Kaduna as Kaduna State government issued a notice to traders in the market to vacate their shops in 3 days. Kasuar Barchi is a famous market in northern Nigeria which gained popularity due to its large concentration of foreign textile materials. The market, according to its union leaders, has over 15,000 traders, including those who own shops and others who do businesses within the market premises. The 3-day notice signed by the Director General of the Kaduna State Urban Planning and Development Authority, Ismail Omar Diko, was made pasting on the shop's door. Reason for the quick notice, as stated by the government, is to allow for the upgrade of the markets. The statement said failures to comply with the above directive will leave the authority with no option than to demolish and remove their store at their expense in accordance to Section 60 of the Kaduna State Urban and Regional Planning Law of 2018. Meanwhile, when a correspondent visited the market, traders were seen moving their wares, equipment, and furniture, among others, out of the market. The market union leaders who spoke to the nation, however, appealed to Kaduna State government to wait for court rulings before demolishing shops in the market. The secretary of the market union, Mohammed Kabiru, said the notice came within a short period and all occupants are under duress. Also, Chairman National People's Unity in Kaduna, Alhaji Adamu Aliu, pleaded with the state government to consider the hardship experienced by the occupants. The Federal Capital Territory Administration has announced plans to collect taxes on unoccupied buildings in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. It disclosed that 600 of such have been identified in the High Bro district of Maitama, Asokoro, Use, Apo, and Gwarimpa. The leader of the FCT, Ministerial Joint Task Force on Sanitation and Demolition of Illegal Structures, Mr. Dele Yaro, said this in an interview with the news agency of Nigeria, NAN. The Assistant Director of Operations, Directorate of Road Traffic Services, spoke after the task force demolished illegal buildings and workshops in Kado Estate. He said they have some buildings within the city that are not occupied by anybody, and government is looking in that direction. Going forward, no property lies fallow without paying taxes. He said there is now a board of internal revenue for the Federal Capital Territory, so if anybody's property is lying fallow, definitely the person must pay tax. If the cost of renting and acquiring these buildings are too high and the owners are made to pay taxes on them every year, they will be forced to bring it down so that people can occupy them. The FCTA blames an estimated 1.7 million housing deficit in Abuja, likely on an increase in the number of unoccupied buildings. The executive chairman of the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, Professor Umar Dambata, said the commission had completely deactivated 2.2 million improperly registered subscriber identification module SIM cards across telecommunication networks nationwide. Professor Dambata disclosed this in a statement signed by the NCC Director of Public Affairs, Henry Nkemadu, in Abuja. He said the Commission's efforts were in line with one of the key agendas of President Muhammadu Buhari to strengthen the security of lives and property for all Nigerians. The NCC chief said they have since initiated a second phase of SIM deactivation based on the ministerial directive, and as of today, they have completely deactivated the remaining 2.2 million lines on the networks. This is contrary to the report by a section of the media suggesting that nothing has been done with respect to the issue of improperly registered SIM cards. Following the September 2019 ministerial directive, however, the NCC within a week intensified efforts by reducing the number of improperly registered SIM cards from 9.2 million to 2.2 million. Professor Dambata, however, said over the years the NCC had worked with determination and through various policy initiatives to rid mobile networks of improperly or invalidly registered SIM cards. He said this was to ensure that all 184 million registered SIM cards across mobile network operators' networks had valid data that are traceable and not anonymous. Alright viewers, we'll go on a short break, and when we come back, you will hear that EFCC and ICPC to go after Empower beneficiaries over abscondment. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Job Creation and Youth Empowerment, Mr. Afolabi, has said that the Empower scheme will collaborate with anti-graft agencies to go after beneficiaries who abscond from duty. Mr. Afolabi disclosed this during a live Facebook broadcast in Abuja while expressing displeasure over increasing reports of beneficiaries who failed to go to their places of primary assignment. He said the scheme had received more reports about people absconding without getting approval and stated that appropriate sanctions awaited them. Mr. Afolabi said the calls and the claims are growing and assured that they have multi-layer integrated monitoring team within the NCIP framework. He said there will surely be a penalty for any and everyone who just believes that they can abscond at any time, he lies, adding that the scheme will also come after beneficiaries who conspire with their supervisors to stay away from their place of primary assignment. Mr. Afolabi noted that instead of absconding, beneficiaries could voluntarily resign as an option. According to him, 5,781 beneficiaries were forcefully disengaged because of disciplinary issues. The presidential aide said that the scheme had so far received 11,238 requests for resignation across the two badges. 8,709 beneficiaries have been approved because they have gone through the process and confirmation. 2,529 are still pending because the organization could not reach them on their mobile phone numbers on the portal. He therefore urged beneficiaries of the scheme to always explore an appropriate mechanism to seek redress when they were aggrieved. The Academic Staff Union of Universities will this week decide whether or not to call upon its members to proceed on a nationwide strike following the decision of the federal government to stop salaries of lecturers who have not enrolled into the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System IPPIS. The Punch gathered that ASU held its National Executive Council meeting at the Enugu State University of Science and Technology, where issues such as the IPPIS and the federal government failure to honor the 2009 agreement were discussed. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, in an interview at the management retreat in Kano, had said that lecturers who did not enroll for the IPPIS would not get their February salaries. The President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, had in October last year directed all federal government workers to enroll into the IPPIS to ensure transparency. The union directed its members to shun government officials sent to universities between October 25th and November 7th, 2019 for the purpose of enrolling workers in the IPPIS. The finance minister said 55% of ASU members had registered for the IPPIS, saying the ones that have not are not getting their February salary. Our source at the Enugu meeting of ASU said the lecturers had been asked to go on strike if their salaries were stopped. The chairman of ASU at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Dr. Christina Opata, in an interview with The Punch also said lecturers at the university were waiting for directives from the leadership of the ASU at the national level. The ASU branch chairman said the integrated payroll system was defective and full of corruption. She said the federal government has not told Nigerians the truth about what it wants to achieve through the IPPIS because the IPPIS is an embodiment of corruption itself. Alright viewers, we're going to short commercial break, and when we come back, Standard Voice Television continues.
Fellow Nigerians, do you know that constituency projects are actually your projects? Do you know that constituency projects are funded by the federal government? Do you know that you can track release of constituency project funds for projects located in your constituency and follow up to know how they have been executed? Constituency projects happen because government does not want to leave any community out in development efforts. You have a responsibility to know what constituency project has been planned for your community, how much has been allocated for it, and whether value for money has been delivered. Take ownership of constituency projects located in your community. Protect them because they belong to you. Government knows about your needs and is planning for you. Government needs your help to ensure quality delivery. Know that constituency projects are actually your projects. Protect your constituency project. My constituency, my project.
For information on funds allocated to projects in your constituency, call 0800 2255 4272.
This message is from the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission and the National Orientation Agency.
Welcome back on Business. Jemima Samuel has more detail.
Thank you. Welcome to Business Desk. The Dangote subsea gas pipeline project will unlock significant gas supply for industrial activities and considerably reduce flaring in Nigeria. The pipeline project is a part of Dangote's multi-billion-dollar gas pipeline, fertilizer, petrochemicals, and refinery project. Regarded as the largest subsea pipeline infrastructure in the world, the 1,100 kilometers gas pipeline is capable of handling 3 billion standard cubic feet of gas per day. One of its many deliverables is that it will help feed the company's fertilizer plant and will connect the Niger Delta to the Lekki Free Trade Zone in Lagos. The offsea pipelines are expected to create a corridor of evacuation of trapped gas from offshore platforms in Nigeria and to allow monetization of the product. Most of the associated gas produced offshore in Nigeria are currently being re-injected or flared. Hence, the Dangote strategy is to utilize gas. For decades, Nigeria has been accused of polluting the atmosphere by flaring gas, while the country itself has been facing shortage of gas. Therefore, the pipeline facility is expected to reduce the quantity of gas flaring in Nigeria and increase government revenue. According to the company, the building of the subsea pipeline and processing facilities will be achieved on time, on budget, and will ensure the facility is capable of achieving operating objectives which can be operated economically over the entire lifespan. Enumerating benefits of the pipeline project, the company stated that the pipeline project will make gas readily available for commercial use, nullify the need for future gas imports, and lead to diversification of Nigeria's economy, increase government revenue, and meet demand for domestic petrochemicals products, ensure an increase in FX from exports, and creation of thousands of direct and indirect jobs. The Group Executive Director, Strategy, Capital Projects and Portfolio Development, DIL, Mr. Diva Kumar Edwin, described the pipeline as the largest subsea pipeline infrastructure in the world. He said the target of pipeline infrastructure is to handle 3 billion SCF per day, and this is all offshore gas that will help trap and cap. He added that the gas would be trapped for electricity, which is a sure point for manufacturers, in addition to other byproducts of the refinery used in the petrochemical industry to drive industrialization. Mr. Edwin said the gas pipeline project would guarantee uninterrupted power supply within the Dangote refinery and petrochemical plant on completion, which he said would also positively increase the Nigeria gross domestic project. He further said the project would attract other bigger investors into Lagos Free Zone, and added that the project would benefit the local communities as many people in the catchment area would be employed while other people would be trained. And that's all we have on Business Desk today. I am Jemima Samuel. Thanks for watching.
And on the international scene, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has set preventive and precautionary measures to prevent COVID-19 infection and transmission. An official source at the Ministry of Interior stated that the preventive and precautionary measures recommended by the competent health authorities was part of its continuous development effort to prevent transmission of the novel coronavirus infection. In preparation to eliminate it and emanating from the kidneys to protect the health of citizens and expatriates and ensure their safety, the kingdom's government has taken the following measures. They include entry into the kingdom by arrivals from United Arab Emirates, the state of Kuwait, and the kingdom of Bahrain will be temporarily restricted to the three following airports only: King Khalid International Airport in Riyadh, King Abdulaziz International Airport in Jeddah, and King Fahd International Airport in Dammam. Entry through land ports between the kingdom and those three countries will be confined to the commercial trunks only, provided that the Ministry of Health takes all necessary precautions at the aforementioned airports, as well as regarding the drivers and their accompanying of those trucks in the land port, where these measures shall be applied immediately. With regard to the entry of Saudi citizens and expatriates in the kingdom who come from the three countries, this procedure came into force at 11:55 p.m. on Saturday, March 7, 2020. It said whoever wishes to come to the kingdom by a new visa or a valid visa from any country where the risk of the spread of the novel COVID-19 must submit the laboratory certificate PCR proving free of infection with COVID-19. This applies to those who reside in those countries during the 14 days prior to the entering the kingdom. The air carrier must ensure that the PCR laboratory certificate is valid and that it is new and issued within the 24 hours prior to the passenger boarding. The embassies of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the countries referred to in the item second shall identify specific laboratories accredited by the National Center for Disease Prevention and Control. The official source of the Ministry of Interior excluded from the previous procedures the humanitarian and social cases based on the given data and facts of the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Health. That has been the news from Standard Voice Television. To end the news, a quick look at the major headlines. Kano State Government dethrones Emir Sanusi. Governor Matawale orders a new regime in food supply to boarding schools across Zamfara State. Lawmaker knocks Commissioner asking Matawale to join APC. NBC issues 65 new radio and television licenses. On business, Dangote subsea pipeline to boost Nigerians' gas supply and reduce flaring. And on the international scene, Saudi Arabia introduced new policy on issuance of visa and entry into the kingdom. That's the news on behalf of the production crew and head of News and Current Affairs Department, Alhaji Ibrahim Garuba Tunel. I still remain Musa Joy Unyoza. Stay tuned.